That's right, I destroyed my guitar. It's okay if you destroy yours too. Greetings all, I'm Bill Vencil. This is Chords of Orion, and today's video is sponsored by Chords of Orion. Yeah, that's right, me. I just want to remind you that I have 13 full-length albums available for download on my Bandcamp page or for streaming on any of the streaming platforms. I'll have links down below if you're interested in ambient guitar music. So recently I posted a picture on my Instagram and Facebook pages that I think shocked a bunch of people. And it was a picture of this mangled old 1964 Mustang. So I'm working on a video that I'm hoping to get out the door in a couple of weeks that features this instrument. I'm really excited about that video. I can't wait to share it with you. But in preparing for the video, I realized on this old guitar that I've had since the early 70s that the pickup selector switch no longer works and that the volume and tone controls hardly work at all. So I thought, well, I'm going to need to take this thing apart and put in a new wiring harness with a new switch and new controls. So I ordered all that up. But in order to figure out what I needed, I had to take the pickguard off. And when I did, memories of old atrocities awaited me. And I'm sure that this is what shocked many of my followers on Instagram or on Facebook. You might be shocked too. I'm still shocked when I see this. I hadn't seen this for probably 30 years. That's probably how long it's been since I've taken the pickguard off last. So, how did this horrible thing happen? Well, as I mentioned, I got this guitar in the early 70s when I was a teenager. It's 1964. And if you know anything about old Mustangs, you know that they came and come with small single coil pickups. They're kind of classic now, but I really didn't like them that much when I was a kid, and I had my sights, my heart set on getting humbucker pickups. So I saved up my money and maybe some, I don't know, Christmas money or birthday money, and I was able to get these two humbuckers from the local music store. Well, that's great, but the next challenge was when I took the pickguard off, I found out I didn't have room to mount the pickups. Well, my family, the family I grew up in, did not have any woodworkers in that family. We had no woodworking tools. So I had to get creative. I found an old, dull wood chisel, and I just chiseled out this pickup area to make the pickups work. And you know what? It works. That pickguard fits in there, and I was able to mount the pickups, get it wired up, and then use it, and have been using it ever since. But man, oh man, did I destroy the vintage value of this guitar. I mean, not only did I commit that atrocity, but I also stripped off the original candy apple red finish that was on this guitar and just kind of did a plain old finish. And not only that, you may or may not be able to see it, but there's a huge crack on the back, and that's another complete story in and of itself. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, Bill, you have to be living right now with a lot of regret in your life. And, you know, it is true. I do have regret in my life, but typically it's about how I've treated people at certain points in a way that wasn't very kind or loving. That's what I really regret. In retrospect, though, it pains me to look at the chisel marks inside my Mustang, but I don't regret hacking away at this guitar. I destroyed the vintage value of it. It would be worth some money now. I don't know exactly how much, but I'm sure, it's in the thousands for sure. But I don't regret that because of all the value I got out of this guitar as a kid as a college-age person, kid, as a young adult playing in a prog rock band for 15 years. And this wasn't the sole guitar in the prog rock band, but it was the main guitar for certain pieces that it just does so well at. I got so much value out of this guitar. I learned how to play guitar on this guitar. And I learned how to make sounds that I really like on this guitar. So I don't regret ripping it up at all. And so I actually have some advice for those of you who may be younger, maybe those of you who are a little bit older. Don't be afraid to experiment with your gear. Now, no, I'm not suggesting that you take a dull wood chisel and start hacking at the routings on your solid body electric guitar. I think if you can afford it, it would make more sense to have somebody route it out in a nice clean way, obviously. But don't be afraid to experiment with your instruments and with your gear. You never know what may come out of it that will really bring a lot of enjoyment to your artistic, creative process. And you never know, you might get results that are just amazing and astounding that you would have never gotten if you wouldn't have experimented. Now, I do have to triple emphasize, if you do have gear that's obviously a candidate for vintage gear or something that's going to rise in value, of course, treat it very carefully. Don't modify it when it shouldn't be modified. I'll give you an example. I've got a beautiful Loudon guitar that I bought back in 2004, early 2005. That guitar will remain as stock, factory, out of the factory as it can, because I know that if I were to do anything to it, it would decrease its value. And it's practically perfect as it is. So I don't need to do anything to it to be amazed and astounded at the sounds I can get out of it. However, there's a lot of opportunity for experimenting. You could buy old tape decks, for example, and there's plenty of YouTube videos of folks buying an old tape deck and experimenting, maybe even kind of wrecking the tape deck a little bit to get some really cool sounds out of it. You might think about buying some old amplifiers or even a newer, more inexpensive amplifier. And if you're good with electronics, think about modifying them to get sounds that you wouldn't be able to get otherwise. And yes, Fender Squiers, inexpensive guitars that are just ripe for experimentation and modifications. Go to it. Don't hold back. Think about what your music requires, what your artistic vision is, and then take this hunk of wood or this piece of metal and electronics and experiment with it to see if you can achieve the results that are in your mind and in your heart. So have you ever experimented by ripping apart an instrument, an amplifier, an effects pedal, or some other piece of musical equipment? Did it achieve your artistic vision, or did it end in ruin? Drop a comment and let me know all about it. Also, I've got a playlist here with some other videos featuring this old beast, and I'll see all of you over on those videos.